Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome to the paper Therapeutic Nutrition. This is the second lecture of first module, that is Principle of Nutrition Care Process. In the first lecture, we had studied about the concept of nutrition care process, and then we saw what are the various steps of nutrition care process, and then we saw what are the various methods of conducting nutrition care process, that is how to go for nutrition assessment, nutrition diagnosis, then nutrition intervention, monitoring and evaluation. Now, in this lecture, we shall be studying about therapeutic adaptations of the normal diet. I am Dr. Jaspreet Kaur, presently working as Assistant Professor in Government College for Girls, Ludhiana, affiliated to Punjab University, Chandigarh, and this project is funded by DTH Swayam Prabha, MHRD, New Delhi. In this lecture, we shall be focusing on the concept of therapeutic diets, and then we will study what are the objectives of therapeutic modifications of normal diet, and then we shall study principles of therapeutic adaptations of normal diet. Let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. Well, it's a very famous phrase given by Hippocrates, known as father of Western medicine. And this phrase captures very essence of health. And we use food not only for meeting the needs of sick people, but we use diet therapy for many other qualities of food. For example, in addition to nutrients, it contains substances that act as antioxidants, detoxifying agents, or blocking or suppressing agents, or they help in excreting some toxic substances, or they can enhancing the immunity also, and then they are required for maintaining healthy gut flora. Individualized dietary modification have become most important aspect in some treatments because of faulty digestion, absorption and utilization of few food elements. They affect the nutritional homeostasis. That is why we need suitable modification. So let's understand the concept of therapeutic diets. Therapeutic diets, they are quantitative or qualitative modified version of basic nutritious diet, which has been tailored to suit the changing nutritional needs of a patient or a disease condition. Therapeutic modifications, they are based on nature of the disease. Let us say what is the type of disease, and secondly we can see what is the severity of the disease, that is how strong or mild it is. Then thirdly we can see what is the nutritional status of the patient, that means what is the existing condition of his status, and then we can go for metabolic changes which may have occurred due to disease. Now these disease conditions, they are very few in some cases, but we may have to go for some severe alterations or adjustments in the diet therapy in some other cases. These therapeutic diets, they are not based on the general RDA of normal diet. Rather, principle of therapeutic diets, they focus on some alterations by paying attention to the nutritional adequacy, nutritional correctness, economy of the diet, and the palatability. So why we modify normal diets? Why can't we go for some specialized diet as a therapeutic diet? The first benefit is the similarity of the diet with the normal diet that provides psychological relief and that fulfills the social needs of the patient, because in spite of qualitative and quantitative changes, the patient can feel connected to that diet. And secondly, the food preparation is simplified, as the family does not need to use a very different or fancy ingredients, or they needing some large quantity or large number of food items, as the basic pattern will remain the same. And thirdly, for the dietitian, it is very useful because the pre-existing calculated values for a basic diet plan, they can be used to analyze what are we adding and what are we deleting, what is the effect of addition or deletion of any kind of food item on the nutritional status. For example, if the dietitian feels that there is a need to omit milk in case of a lactose intolerant person, the dietitian, they can easily foresee that we need to see there will be calcium deficiency and how we can correct it. Let us understand objectives of therapeutic modifications. We need therapeutic modifications at times as a part of essential or life-saving treatment. For example, in celiac disease, providing gluten-free diet is a savior for that person. Secondly, an important objective is to replete the patients who are malnourished because of any disease such as cancer, or it could be some intestinal disease, that is through provision of greater amount of nutrients such as protein, and it helps in restoring the optimal nutritional status. Another objective of therapeutic modification is to provide rest or relieve an affected organ, such as in gastritis or in fevers, we can provide rest to whole body. And another objective is to adjust the body's ability to digest, absorb, metabolize, or excrete. For example, a low-fat diet is provided to a person who cannot absorb fat. And lastly, we need to adjust to the tolerance of the food intake. For example, if a person is on some treatment where he cannot take solid foods, naturally we have to meet the nutritional needs with the help of tube feeding, because we cannot give anything through the mouth. And similarly, we can exclude some food items in persons who are suffering from some allergies or food intolerance. Another objective is to adjust to the mechanical difficulties. For example, we have elderlies at home, and there are many patients also in hospitals who have denture problems, and changing the texture, consistency of the food recommended due to these problems or of chewing or swallowing, that can be another important objective. And then we need to increase or decrease body weight or the body composition whenever required. For example, if a patient is severely malnourished or who is underweight, naturally we will increase the body weight through suitable modification. And similarly, if the patient is overweight, we will correct the deficiency or the excess with the help of diet. And lastly, it is used as a helpful treatment, as an alternative treatment, or complementary treatment to the drugs. For example, in the case of diabetes or in the case of hypertensives, therapeutic diets, they are rather major players in whole nutrition care process. So, to meet all these objectives, we need to adapt the diet in one or other way. So, let us discuss what are the types of therapeutic adaptations of the routine diet. The first adaptation that can be done is change in consistency. Secondly, we can modify the quantity of the diet. Thirdly, we can modify the existing nutrients. Then we can modify the meal frequency. Then we may have to go for some changes in the methods of cooking. And lastly, we can go for modification in mode of feeding. Let us discuss all these modifications in detail. The first change is change in the consistency. Some therapeutic diets, they are modified for consistency and texture to fit the nutritional needs of specific category of patients who may be requiring some clear liquid diet or some full liquid diet, or some may be requiring the soft diet based on their medical condition. So let us explore these diets in detail. Liquid diets, they consist of food that can be served in liquid or strained form at room temperature. They are usually prescribed in conditions when the patient is unable to tolerate any kind of solid foods. It is also used for individuals with acute infections or digestive problems to replace the fluid which are lost through various channels, for example, through vomiting, through diarrhea. There are two major type of liquid diets. They are clear liquid diet and full liquid diet. Soft diet, as the name suggests, it provides soft, whole food that is slightly seasoned, and they are similar to the regular diet. This type of diet is not only soft in consistency, but it is easy to chew and is made of simple, easily digestible food. It does not contain harsh fibers or strong flavors. It is given in the conditions where there are acute infections or certain gastrointestinal disorders, or people who are immediately after the post-operative stage, and it is also recommended for the individual who are in the early phase of recovery following a surgery. Next, or last type of change in consistency can be done with the help of blend diet. So blend diets, they are provided to avoid irritation to the gastrointestinal tract. For example, in ulcers, inflammatory bowel disease. Here, we have to ensure that it does not contain chemical irritants, mechanical irritants, or thermal irritants. So these irritants could be spices, stimulants, and then we serve this food at room temperature. So these are the items which we have to avoid. Now let us see how we go for modification in the quantity. So depending upon the clinical conditions, some individuals may require a restricted kind of diet. For example, we provide sodium restricted diet in hypertension, and then purine has to be restricted in gout patients, and we give low residue diet in people who have just undergone some kind of abdominal surgery, and where we have to reduce the volume of the fecal output. Then secondly, sometimes a complete elimination diet may have to be recommended when there is food intolerance or a complete insensitivity to a particular food. For example, gluten-free diets or dairy-free diet or a nut-free diet, etc. can be recommended. And then we have to occasionally increase the amount of specific dietary item or which may be prescribed. For example, high fiber diet is prescribed in constipation, or an iron-rich diet is prescribed in people who have anemia. High protein diet is given to HIV patients, or whenever a condition demands. And next modification can be modification in the nutrients. The nutrient content of the diet is modified to treat the deficiencies, and nutrient intake has to be increased when there is more loss. For example, there is more loss in vomiting or diarrhea, or it could be in condition where there is less absorption. For example, in again in the diarrhea, the ability to absorb the nutrient, that is lowered. And then we have to modify the nutrients where we need to change the body weight. And in case of overweight people, definitely we'll go for reduction in some kind of macronutrients so that the person can lose the weight. And then we can use this modification to control few diseases. For example, if a patient has come up with high blood sugar level, he is a diabetic or a pre-diabetic. So being prescribed a diabetes friendly diet, we have to change the quantity and the quality of few items. For example, carbohydrates in case of diabetes, and where we would say, okay, we have to restrict the refined type of carbohydrates, which such as sugar, honey, refined flour, semolina, etc. But at the same time, we have to modify the carbohydrates by adding the complex carbohydrates. For example, we would recommend whole wheat flour, coarse cereal, etc. And then patient with the heart disease also, they require some fat controlled cholesterol diet, while the patient with the renal failure, they will be needing low protein diet. And then lastly, we have some specialized diet we call the test diet. They are single meal or a diet lasting for 1 or few days. They are given to the patients in connection with certain tests. For example, if we wish to see what is the fat absorption capacity of a person, if the steatorrhea is present, that is the malabsorption of fat, which is indicated by the presence of fat in the feces. So similarly, we can see the glucose tolerance test. So such kind of diets, we call them test diets. Next change is modification in the meal frequency. So in many diseases such as fever or diarrhea, the person may not be able to consume large quantity of the food. So frequency has to be adjusted accordingly. It is also adjusted in individuals who are suffering from some gastroesophageal reflux disease, that is known as GERD. And such people, they will be benefited by consuming small frequent meals. And then for some non-communicable diseases, for example in diabetics, obese patient, or some post-gastrectomy diet, it provides the meals at different frequency, that is frequent small feeds they are given to such patients. Many a time we have to go for different quality of food item or change the way we prepare a food for cooking. So here, for example, the first thing, leaching can be done. It is indicated for cooking the vegetable for people who are having chronic kidney disease, and because their kidneys, they are not able to maintain the potassium level in the blood which is necessary for the optimal health. So leaching, that pertains to soaking the vegetables in water for some time and draining the excess water, and that leaches the potassium and phosphorus from the vegetable. Secondly, in elderly people, we also face this problem, but we must have seen at home also our elderlies, they have problem related to chewing or consuming nuts or some hard items. So what we change in such cases, we go for mashing, we go for blending, we go for chopping. So, and similarly, some patients, we recommend blend kind of foods. For example, we go for steaming method, we go for baking method, or we can go for grilling method. Lastly, we may have to go for different mode of feeding. To provide adequate nutrition, normally oral feeding, that is through mouth, is recommended. But for patients who are unable to take food orally, special feeding methods, they are used to meet the nutrient requirements, such as we can go for enteral feeding, that is by providing nutrition support through the gastrointestinal tract by assessing the gut through some feeding tubes, for example, nasogastric tube, nasoduodenal, nasojejunal tube, or with the help of PEG, that is percutaneous endoscopic gastrostomy, or we can go for some surgical gastrostomies. And second method is with the help of parenteral feeding. That is a mode to deliver the nutrients by way other than using gastrointestinal tract. That is through intravenous, and here fluids, water, glucose, amino acid, minerals and vitamins, they are given through the peripheral or the central veins. When we are providing few nutrients along with other routes, we call it partial parenteral nutrition. But when we are providing whole nutrients through the intravenous route, then we call it total parenteral nutrition. So, with the help of these types of adaptation, we can plan a tailor-made diet for each patient by considering few points, which are, for example, we can see what is the usual diet of a patient. That can be recorded with the help of food diary by taking the food dietary history, and then by using the available foods, and then by noting the food preferences. For example, what is the lifestyle of that person, what is his existing knowledge about the different type of food, what are his taste preferences, are there any religious beliefs which are there, and there are some other factors such as some socio-cultural factors, they could be impacting the nutritional needs. And then lastly, we have to see what is the nutritional homeostasis. That is, what is the internal body environment that will also decide what kind of modifications are to be made. Intelligent planning that involves consideration of all the food cost, then by avoiding the food wastage, and then ensuring the retention of nutrients. But failure to account for all these points, that could result in an absolutely impractical diet plan and with poor acceptance and compliance by the patient. So, let us summarize what we have learned in this lecture. We have studied what is the concept of therapeutic diets. Then we studied what do we wish to achieve, that is, what are the objectives, and then how to achieve these objectives, that is, by the help of various modifications of this therapeutic diet, that is, through the changes in the consistency, quality, quantity, frequency, method of cooking, and then lastly, mode of feeding. Thank you.